Life's too short to drive boring cars. So scouring the used car market, it's pretty clear to me that BMWs take a pretty substantial hit in depreciation in the first 2, 3, 4, and 5 years of time. And while this can be a huge win for you and me if we're buying used BMWs, it's a massive loss for those people buying them brand new. So I'm gonna share a list of 4 great reasons why BMWs are just so cheap and I didn't buy another one. Let's get into it now. So first of all, when I use the term cheap, what does that actually reference to? Well, BMWs aren't cheap vehicles when they're brand new, but did you realize in the first 2 years is the sweet spot? That's where you're getting maximum value at about 87% service life left with a massive 30% depreciation at that time. By the time year 3 rolls around, about 38% of this value is gone, and year 4, they're actually seeing about 44% of its original value up in smoke. But the big hit is after 5 years, up to 55% of the value is gone on your average BMW. Now, certain M models definitely hold certain value because there's enthusiasts that drive the prices a little bit. But for your garden variety BMWs, over half of the value is gone in that first 5 years. Coincidentally, that's the warranty period for most. So the first reason why these vehicles lose as much value as they do, particularly up to the 5-year point, is the simple fact of reliability or lack thereof. For example, this is a great case study right here. And here we have the BMW 750. As we see right there, the 750 Li, absolutely gorgeous vehicle. This is BMW's flagship. Of course, you've got these great inset exhaust tips, great LED taillights, and it's X-Drive, so it's all-wheel drive, great for the snowy conditions. And they've got a great contour. This car's length is just immense, and ultimately it represents the best in BMW's luxury lineup. Here we've got the BMW's LED updates, and they've got the oversized grille that you're finding in the current generation cars. Great vents, amazing wheels, more accents there, and some great trim that runs along the gambit. Of course, you've got two-tone handles here, and an interior that is second to none in terms of quality and fit and finish. You've also got glass finish on top, and just an overall presence and an immense stance that speaks volumes. But it doesn't end there. It's the N63 as part of that drivetrain, which even though it's gone through several TU upgrades, is the source of a lot of problems for BMW. It's their 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 that's wrapped under the hood. You've got 2 turbos, and they're stuffed between the hot V, and that's just what they're called, the hot V, so it roasts the heads, and as a result, the cooked heads translate into excessive oil consumption in short order because there's not enough shielding and filtration from that heat. It moves its way and migrates into the heads, starts cooking the valve guide seals, and now you start consuming oil through the valve guides. The earlier generations had lots of problems with timing chains, accelerated battery deterioration, high pressure fuel pumps, injectors, and there's a whole list of other items. So it's part of the factor that contributes to lack of reliability. Here's another one. Right there, that's the other one. This is a BMW X3, but it's not the vehicle particularly that's the problem because there's some different engines that came in different generations of X3s that are pretty solid. But let's have a quick look. Everybody likes an X3. Got your classic angel eye headlights, conventional BMW grille, little fog lights, so cute, as well as these great undersized wheels. Not large, but they do a great job because there's more sidewall, so they do a great job of not taking abuse as they hit hard curbs and rocks and bumps. Of course, you've got this great little mirror with an LED strip, roof lighting, and a great overall stance. Some awesome trim along the side on these vehicles. And you go along, the rear splitter's great. And you'll notice you've got a dual exhaust system only on the one side, but that's because of the engine that this comes configured with, which is X-Drive all-wheel drive 28i. And the 28i in this generation is essentially what they call the N20. That is a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine of 2-liter displacement. That N20 was historically one of BMW's worst, most unreliable engines. Sucked in oil filters, oil filter housing leaks, coolant leaks, but most importantly, timing chain rattle, and ultimately many of them led to an early demise with a catastrophic timing chain failure, at least up until they made some updates to the timing chain ramps, gears, and tensioner system. M vehicles have always suffered a little bit on reliability, as many other vehicles along the way in the BMW lineup. So reliability is a problem area, and many people just don't want to own one outside of warranty, and therefore once you hit that 4 to 5 year age range, most people are trying to get rid of them, not buy them. The second reason has to do with what we're looking at right here. We have a sign. What does that sign represent? Well, BMW Certified Sales Event. That's right, certified. So they're trying to certify used vehicles. Why? because they have more difficulty in selling them. BMW has been one of those strong pushes and strong advocates for competitive brand new vehicle leasing and finance rates. As a result of that, most people don't want to even deal with a used vehicle. They want shiny and new, the latest technology. So they say enough with that. I don't want that used vehicle, even if there's some other incentives. Most people are just opting for the ultra low brand new vehicle incentives. And it ultimately makes it even more difficult for BMW and many other vendors to sell their 3 to 5 year old luxury car used, especially because the first factor, which was reliability. The third reason has to do with the latest and greatest designs, performance, technology that a lot of the older cars just can't match. Now, while a lot of people figure the older cars are nicer because they're simpler from a simpler time, that can't be denied, especially from a reliability standpoint. But a lot of people aren't buying them for that. A lot of people are buying them for that 1 to 3 year time span, and they want the best technology. They want the latest designs and technology. I'll give you an example. A lot of people look at an older BMW, even though this is a more base model, and they'll see old conventional style headlights, older style grille, the older bumper style, obviously very simplistic, doesn't have as many of the jut outs, and it's far less aggressive. The older cars have smaller wheels, simpler designs here, simpler designs there. And even here, you don't have LEDs, you have the older school taillights in these older versions like this. But compare it with this. What we looked at, here's a current generation, top of the line. It has everything. Top of the line LEDs. You have the jut outs here. You've got the more updated exhaust configurations. Everything looks far cleaner than the older cars. You've got further wings, LEDs, larger wheels, nicer door handles, lower profile lighting systems, more vents, nicer headlights with better outputs. And again, they are LED. Some would disagree with the modern day kidney design, but there's no doubting that it does look more modern. Obviously got lots of high gloss finishing, very, very attractive. And again, as I spoke, highly updated designs around the lower bumper grille sections, which makes the vehicle look far more aggressive from the side as well as from the front. The newer cars have far more attractive and functional infotainment systems. The graphics are better, the screens are larger, and the iDrive or the mDrive systems are much cleaner. They work much, much better. Navigation is improved and more up to date. And overall, the mass majority of the technology buried in the modern day BMWs is far cleaner, nicer, more functional, soft touch, everything. And it's hard to go back to the older cars when the newer cars are much, much prettier. And if you're one of those buyers who doesn't necessarily care about reliability because you're owning it only for a few short years, then you're looking for the best performance. You want that 600 plus horsepower buried under the hood of this beautiful X5M vehicle right here. So in summary, the newer cars are more techy, faster, better on fuel, they look more up to date, and for 90% of the population looking for a BMW, they're just gonna go buy a new one. And the next reason why BMWs are often very, very cheap on the used car market is because it has to do with, it ties back to the first point of strong incentive to sell them new. When these vehicles come back from lease returns, and there's lots of them, they flood the market because lots of people are incentivized to buy the new vehicles through a lease. That way they can disconnect themselves, and if there's any problems mechanically or otherwise, people don't worry about it. When those lease returns finally hit the dealer network, there's floods of them, there's lots of them available, and that again continues to drive the prices down as dealers do their best to scramble and offer further incentives on certified pre-owns as they continue to try to pawn off those used vehicles on the used car market. Then you probably wonder why I personally didn't buy another BMW. No, I didn't. I bought a Merc and I bought a Jaguar. Part of it was I needed a change. Number one was I didn't like the new grille design that BMW is offering up. That's a personal opinion of mine. I wanted to get excited for the new M3 and the M4, but I just couldn't. Once I saw that design, I struggle with it. It's different, it's unique, but I still can't really get past the looks of that buck tooth. And in addition to this, there's lots of great cars that BMW constantly puts out, and constantly, but that's the problem. They constantly put out regurgitating the same thing, in my opinion. Now, they're great cars, and truly, if you want one of the best driving, performing luxury cars, BMW is still your brand. There's nothing better that consistently drops down the numbers in terms of performance. But I was just ready to do something a little different. Another thing that recently has been irking me. I'm sure a lot of the other manufacturers are doing the same thing, but I had a problem here, as I'll give you an example. This week, I had a problem with our BMW X5. It had a little bit of a problem. I needed to get it taken to the dealer. I personally knew what the issue was, and it was more of a matter of not wanting to do it because it's getting cold here and I didn't want to deal with it at home. So I opted to call the dealer. How much to fix this problem? And they said, well, we can't diagnose it over the phone, so we're gonna have to charge you a small diagnostic charge just to get past that. And they quoted me $169. diagnostic. Well, I thought, okay, that's a bit pricey. I said, does that get blended in with the labor rate once the vehicle's confirmed that that is in fact the problem? Because I knew what the problem was and I already told them what I believed it was. And I was under the impression that it would be covered if we took up the dealer on the repair. So then I said, I'll go home, I'll talk to my wife. I did that. I called back a day later to commit. Then I called in, I said, yeah, can you book us in? The service writer then quoted me and saying, yes, you know that there's a $250 diagnostic charge. And I said, well, wait a minute. I was told yesterday that there was a $169 diagnostic charge, and now I'm being told it's $250. Which one is it? So then they put me on hold. They came back 5 minutes later, said, we just talked to the service manager, and they'll say, yeah, okay, we'll do it for $169. What is this becoming? Is this a royal gouge fest? I just felt like I was getting greased upside, downside, and in between the chute. Didn't like it, wasn't appreciating the idea of doing that anyway. What about a little bit of goodwill here? I mean, these big dealerships are starting to look like Vegas casinos with the marble floors and the shiny walls and the free concierge services. I struggle with that. So at the end of the day, I opted out. I did the repair myself. I struggled. I spent the day in the shop and I just fixed it myself because I got tired of getting greased. And that's why, if you want to know why I elected to step away from BMW for a little bit. And with all of that said, be sure to click on that video. Why are used Mercedes so cheap? And I bought one. Hope to see you real soon. Catch you then. Bye-bye.